For you to get a call as a result of a speech, somebody doing business with you, that's like finding a unicorn, okay? For you to get a call from an article is like finding a three-legged unicorn who can juggle and smoke a cigar at the same time, all right? So the way to make those things valuable, first is, I agree with your point 100%. You need to do those things to build up a body of work, okay? So your body of work enhances your credibility. So when you go to get a speaking engagement, if you have videos from a dozen speaking engagements that you can send those people, you're the only one sending a dozen videos, you're gonna get the speaking engagement. So your body of work is important. Let's set that aside for right now. Here's how you convert speaking engagements and articles into real work, okay? Everybody gives you, let's take articles first. Everybody gives you the opportunity to do what's called a byline or a bio box in the article. And it usually says, I'm going to use myself, right? Dave Lorenzo is the greatest thing in the world for marketing. He's worked with over 1,000 lawyers in 600 different firms over the last 10 years. He's written 3 books, right? That's great. Nobody reads that. Really, nobody besides you even cares about that. Scrap that format. Do this. Create one piece of content that is extremely valuable to your ideal client, right? 10 things you need to know about opportunity zones in 2019, or the 5 questions you need to ask a lawyer in this age of uncertainty in affordable housing, right? That one piece of content is what I call a honeypot. And what you do in your bio box in the article when you send it to the publication is you say, Dave Lorenzo is an expert on affordable housing. For his free white paper, 10 things you need to know about affordable housing in the age of uncertainty in New York State. Email, and then you put a dedicated email, and when the email goes to that, you get notified and the report is automatically sent out. It's called an autoresponder. I'm sure your IT department can do this for you, right? And everybody who gets that publication then is a prospect. They've gone from, remember we talked about suspects and prospects? They've gone from somebody who just saw your article and was a suspect to someone who's actually demonstrated interest, okay? Because they reached out and asked for more information. And what you can do is, you can even do a dedicated opt-in link instead of an email, so that they have to put their name and email address, obviously, to get the report. And then you email them 2 or 3 days later and follow up as the author of the white paper, saying, just wanted to see if you had any questions. I'd be thrilled to answer your questions for you. You know, I'm the author of the article, blah, blah, blah. And 50% of the time, people will respond and say, hey, listen, you know, this is a great article. I really appreciated it. I want to talk to you about 1 or 2 things. So that's how you take articles and use them as a lead generation tool. What's even more effective is when you do it in a speech. I have a whole session that we're going to do, and we may do more than, I may do more than one session with you guys, because I think some of you speak a lot, but it's something we can definitely work on in a one-on-one setting. About 3/4 of the way through your talk, you completely stop what you're doing and you say, before I forget, I can't go back to the office without making this offer to you. I've written a white paper, and we usually sell it at the firm for like $99 or whatever. Because you came here today, I'd like to make this offer. If you'd like the electronic version, all you need to do is pass your business card to the center aisle. I'll come down and collect the business cards, and we'll make sure that we get the white paper to you tomorrow via email. And while I'm collecting the business cards, if you have any questions, I'll be happy to take those questions as I collect the business cards, okay? That does 2 things, okay? It finishes your talk the right way. You never ever finish a speech by taking questions. Never do that. Take questions 3/4 of the way through the talk, and you finish with a strong client case study story that's going to compel them to take action. What that also does is, the only reason that you're there, the only reason you ever give a speech, is to get the contact information from everyone in the room. I don't care what you talk about. You can talk about Marvel and DC Comics if that's of interest to your audience, but you're going to give that speech to get contact information from the people who came to hear you as an expert on that topic. Because anybody who gives you their contact information is a good prospect. They're interested in hearing more from you. and then you get their contact information, you'll email them out, and we'll communicate with them over time, and we're going to talk about that in our next session. But that, distribution of that honeypot, collecting that information 3/4 of the way through your talk, and then distributing that really helps us identify who the prospects are in the room. Does that make sense? And then, like I said, don't ever finish your talk by taking questions. Always finish with a strong, compelling story or case study. And then after your speech is over, don't wait at the front of the room for people to come up and shake your hand. After your speech is over, you run. You don't walk, you run to the exit door, and you stand next to the exit door to collect business cards from people who didn't get them out in time to hand them to you. And people will come up to you one-on-one. They'll think you're a freak for running to the door, but they'll all follow you. It works like a charm. They'll follow you to the door, and the people who didn't give you the business cards will give you their business cards on the way out to get the white paper, so you won't miss anybody. If you're in front of the right audience, you'll get 50 to 75% of the people in the room to give you their contact information, and that's more valuable than even getting the list from the people who are running the event. When you get a list from the people who are running the event, you get a generic list of names and email addresses. You don't know who's interested in what you have to say and who's not. When somebody takes the time to figure out where their business card is, right? Think about that right now. Where are your business cards? Right? They're probably at your desk. You probably don't have them on you, right? They got to find their business card, hand it to you. They're interested in what you have to say. So following up with those people is money in the bank. Okay? Does that make sense? That's how you use articles and speeches for lead generation purposes. Now, the second thing I'll tell you is articles are great for building your body of work because we can reference them forever. And if they're published in print, the firm can get reprints of that with the banner, with the heading of, I wrote an article for Real Estate Weekly 100 years ago, and I still have it as a Real Estate Week. The reprint has the Real Estate Weekly header, and it's great to send out to people either electronically or as a physical copy. So articles are great for building your body of work. Speaking engagements, I'll tell you straight up, in this day and age, everything's got to be on video. Even if you think that it's an inconsequential speech, it's valuable to put it on video. If the firm has the capability of doing it, you should definitely have them do it because it's going to come out better than if you try and do it yourself. But worst case, give somebody, give an intern, you pay them $15-20 an hour at the most, and have them in the back of the room just making sure the camera stays on. It's really valuable to have video of you in the front of a room full of people. It's just good content, and it's good for your credibility. Go ahead, Adam.
When you get to the front of the room and people come up to you after you speak,
knock them over and run to the back. No, I'm serious.
I mean the back.
You get to the back. Okay.
How do you? There are people that will suck your time.
Yeah.
As people are walking by, and those people are usually the least impressive ones you.
Right.
How do you get rid of them?
Okay.
That's a good one.
Can I use you?
Sure.
Come. So, we're talking, and I know right away this is not going to work out, right? And I see Daniel's over here. He's waiting, right? So what I do is I just look him in the eye and I go like this, and he continues to talk, and then I go like this. And I say, just give me 1 sec. Just give me 1 sec. I need to make sure I get Daniel's business card. And so then I talk to Daniel for 2 seconds, and he'll hang out there. Yeah. And I'll go back to him, and then somebody else comes, and I just excuse me 1 more second. This is really, I just want to, and I keep him over here. I don't brush him off, but my body language is open to accepting other people. Because what they do, and it's not. Thanks. It's not their fault, right? They don't mean to. They think they're interesting. So, and they don't mean to monopolize all your time. They just get really excited.
Well, they may not even think they're interesting. They may just think they can get something from you that is not going to lead to your business, right. But it's right. Useful for them, but not for you.
Right. Just change your body language. And it's with what I just did. It's really important that as I moved them over, I never broke the handshake contact. Because if I just push them off that's rude, right? Okay. But I use the handshake to move them over. I'll tell you, if you accept questions from the crowd in a speaking sense and you got a microphone, never let go of the microphone. right? So you're doing this, and they're pulling you. You pull them in with the mic. Never ever give up control of the microphone, because you lose control of the. That question will go on for 45 minutes if you give up control of the microphone. And then when the person, if there's somebody in the crowd who you can't get to stop, like they're making some sort of commentary, like you've asked for thoughts from the crowd, and the person won't stop, what I do is I walk up to them and I extend my hand while they're talking, and I shake their hand, and they're still talking, and I thank them, and then I turn and move away. That's more of a rare thing. It happens more often if you do like one of these panel things where everybody gets like, they're supposed to get like 2 minutes to do like an opening statement or something, and they just go on and on and on, and you're a panelist and you got to walk down and go, thank you so much, and that's the way to get them to stop. But when people come up to you like that, I'll move them over and I'll say, it's really important that I get these business cards, but hang with me. I'm happy to answer any question you have. You got to balance the reason that you're there with trying not to be, rude to that person. And I haven't had an experience, if I do it right, I haven't had an experience where somebody's been offended, as long as you use your body language appropriately.